to How Does She Do It? This time we're coming at you from my bedroom. If you watched my previous episode, you know that I asked you to pick one of 3 colors of paper. And the winner is green, my favorite color. So what am I doing with a square sheet of paper? Drum roll, please. Origami. I don't do origami often. Actually, the only thing that I know how to make so far is a bow. And that is what I'll be showing you today. I'll try to share the steps as I go, but if you really want to learn how to make this bow, I will share the link to the tutorial that I used in the description box below. Oh, a couple of tips before we get started. Tip number 1, and it's very important, do not drool on your paper. Tip number 2, tip number 1 is actually all that I have. Okay, so the only tools that you will need for this project are a square sheet of paper and a pair of scissors. The tools I need are a square sheet of paper, an X-Acto knife, a clean, dry paintbrush, a straight edge ruler, and my hippopotamus for moral support. If you are using origami paper, chances are there's a right and wrong side. You want to start with the color side facing down. Your first fold will be from corner to corner, creating a triangle. I like to start with my chin in the middle of the fold and then work my way out to the ends, being as careful as I can to make sure the edges are even. I'll smooth it out a little with my arm, but then I take the back of my X-Acto knife to make the edges nice and crisp. You might use your fingernails to do this part, and then open it back up and do the opposite side, corner to corner. Unfold the triangle again, and this time with the color facing up. You want to fold from side to side so that it looks like a book. Unfold and do the same on the other side. Again, I like to use my knife for those crisp edges. Next, you're going to take all 4 corners and bring them to the middle. You'll notice that they naturally want to collapse in on themselves, and this will create sort of a diamond shape. And then take the top corner and fold it down about 1.5 centimeters. Try to keep the point right on your middle crease and make sure that the fold isn't too small. If it is, it will affect the next set of folds that we're about to make. Now you pretty much want to undo it all and open it back up to its original square shape. You'll notice that the last fold we made has created a square right in the center of your paper. With the right side facing down, just reinforce those folds again so that the middle creates a valley and the folds are a mountain. And do that on all 4 sides of the paper. This part is a little difficult to describe, so as I mentioned earlier in the video, you may want to check out the tutorial that I watched to learn this. So this next step is the hardest part for me and will either make or break my origami bow. Basically, I want to refold that same diamond shape we got earlier, only I want the top to valley fold into the middle. That's why we created the mountain folds on each side. You can use your fingers for this part, but that's where the clean, dry paintbrush comes in for me. I'm using the brush end so that I can gently collapse the center without poking a hole. This is where my tip not to slobber on your paper comes in handy. A couple of times I tried collapsing it with my tongue and, well, the wetness poked a hole right through the thin paper. If that happens, I'm right back to square one and I have to start all over. And then you're just going to fold in each of the 4 sides so that the bottom on each end are parallel. Remember when I mentioned that you don't want to fold the triangle down less than about 1.5 centimeters? If you do, this is the step that will be affected by it because you wouldn't be able to fold in far enough to get the parallel that you're looking for. Again, you're going to open up your piece, but this time you want to be careful not to undo the last set of folds that you just did. If you flip it over to the color side, you will notice a little bubble in the center. This is actually going to be the center of our bow. Go ahead and flatten that down. Because of the last 4 folds, we now have 3 separate creases going down each of the 4 sides. Spread it apart just a bit, and with your scissors you want to cut all the way up the middle crease and stop when you get to the center of your bow. Do this on all 4 sides. For me, instead of scissors, I am using my X-Acto knife. And in order to have it lay flat on the cutting board, I have to undo my folds pretty far. I run the risk here of completely undoing everything, so I have to be extra careful. Actually, I do sorta unfold pretty far, but then I take the time to put each fold back where it belongs. Now you want to flip it back over so the wrong side is up. The cuts that we just made have created 2 wings on either side. Fold one side over so that it's on top of the other and parallel to it. And with the flap that's left over, you want to fold in each side to meet in the middle, creating a triangle shape. A little tip here, since we are using paper that has a right and a wrong side, you might want to overlap these 2 edges in the middle just a bit. We are currently making the fluffy part of the bow, and if there's no overlap, you will see a strip of white paper down the center of your bow when it is all finished. Now flop these 2 wings over to the other side so that you can reach the opposite flap, and fold these to the center as well. Again, I know I've said this before, but you may want to check out the tutorial that I used. I am obviously pretty awkward with the way that I do things. We're in the home stretch and our bow is taking shape. You can see that the triangles you folded are more of a diamond shape, with the center of the bow being that little bubble that you flattened down earlier. There's also a weird little skirt thing going on at the bottom that is 2 layers thick. This is going to create your tails. Take your scissors and cut down the center of both layers so that you will now have 2 little weird skirts. This is where my ruler comes in again, and I will use my X-Acto knife to cut. This part is where your creativity comes in. Flip the bow over to the back, and those 2 little skirts that we cut are going to become the tails. Fold each side inward towards the middle, creating whatever shape that you like. Just make sure that whatever you do on one tail, you do the same on the other. Unless you're going for lopsided, then by all means, make them different. What I like to do here is cut the tails straight across evenly, and then cut your little triangles into the bottom of each tail, and that helps to keep them symmetrical. But honestly, mine never come out right. The very last step is to take our diamond shapes and Tuck the tip of each into the very middle, that little bubble that we flattened down earlier. If you want to, you can even put a little bit of glue on the tips. That way they'll stay in there. And that's it. That's our bow. Successfully and without too much slobber. Thanks again for hanging out with me. But before we go, I have a challenge for all of you who have arms and legs, which is almost all of you. I want to see your best origami bow using only your mouth. Kidding! You can use your hands if you must, but I want to see your beautiful creations. If you're watching this from Facebook, pictures, I want to see pictures in the comment section. Until next time, bye guys! Alright, drumroll please.